Hello guys, it's Zain Ali here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a very interesting video. One of my very dear friend sent me a video where Mr. Paul Joseph Watson, I think his name is, he made 20 questions, asked 20 questions to Muslims, and I thought to myself that this is one side of the opinion, and people who listen to one side of the point of view has also should be given the other side of the point of view as well, so that people can decide for themselves whatever opinion they make. Everybody has the right to do so, but it's better to present the other side of the opinion as well out there. And just before I go into this debate, opinion or conversation, I would just say that I'm not a religious scholar, and I'm not I don't have any like a religious reference to give. I'm simply gonna consider these questions on a logical basis and try to answer it as simple and as logical as possible, because that's the first way of understanding anything before going into detailed references. And secondly, another very important question is that first of all, I respect every person's opinion and whatever religious or non-religious opinions they have, but the answering to some questions which I can predict what kind of questions would be there, it's very important to just let you know, guys, that first, like any place you apply for work, when you go looking for work, when you find a job and then you finally go through the interview and you get your job, what you are presented is something called HR manual, terms and conditions, where you are told to go by a certain policy of that company. Now, in order to understand things in the context, I would just suggest that a lot of the times it's easier to explain things as long as the other person or the people who are listening to this conversation, do they believe in God or not? That is the first question. I mean, if somebody doesn't believe in God, it's entirely up to them. But in order to understand the question this gentleman is going to ask, or any other person is going to think or ask, they are asking from their perspective about certain things about Islam. 1, 2, 3, why is this, why is that? But before we even go to these questions, the first question any logical person would ask is that we are talking about terms and conditions. Why this term and condition is good, why this term and condition is not good, why this is right, why this is wrong. That is a secondary debate. The primary debate is that if you agree the name of the company that you are going to, either you're going to apply to the company or not, either you're going to join the company or not. And that starts with the name of the company, meaning in this context, do you believe in God or not? So I would suggest, I personally believe that I was born in a Muslim family, but that is a very stereotype way of being a Muslim. So what I did, I went out there, researched on my own some logical questions I had about Islam and God, and I'm very happy and satisfied the way I got my answers logically about Islam, about prayers, being a good Muslim, being kind to others, etc., etc. So I would just come back to the same crux of it, is that before questioning any of the terms and conditions and the policies and why this and why that is in Islam, a lot of it would be out of the context as well, I'm sure of that. But the first question I would just suggest and ask to every individual, in their own opinion, have they researched enough? Are they convinced? Is there a God or not? Have they ever thought about this idea, the aim of life? Is there a God or not? So if they have done that, if they have made an opinion about is there a God or not, then the secondary debate makes sense. You can criticize, you can question. So once you take one or the other side, further secondary questions become easy to answer. It becomes really logical to explain them. So that is the first thing. Second thing is that a lot of the times people listen to videos like that, and this is why a lot of people who do, I'm not talking about this gentleman, I don't know particularly if that's what he's doing or other people are doing, but a lot of the times videos like that get viral because it's very easy to spread hatred, it's very easy to spread criticism or controversy, because that gets viral really quickly. Like I can sit here, post 20-30 questions on other culture or other race or other religion, and my community or people who belong to my let's say ethnicity or school of thought would make it viral really quickly. But to me, I think that is a very small way of thinking about things. That's like a really smaller vision. A person with a greater vision would see things in a bigger perspective, in a wider perspective. And that is that don't just argue for the sake of argument. Don't just put videos out there to, you know, he made a video, I'm going to make as well. Like in a fighting way. I think I see it in a way that a bigger vision person would present their opinion and respect the other people's opinion and just put it out there so that anybody who's listening, if they find anything useful, they can respectfully disagree with me. That's completely fine. But me or people from the school of thought I belong, they're criticizing other people, they are just abusing or bashing other people, then the main crux or aim of conversation and debate dies. So I would really thank and suggest that even if you see my video, please try not to get into a blame game or just abusing and stuff like that, because I literally am not interested in it. And I would like to do a lot of videos where I see if any gentlemen have asked questions. To the best of my knowledge, I try to answer. And if I don't have any knowledge about the question any gentleman asks, probably it will give me an opportunity to go again, research, study more, and come back with an answer. That's how it happens in educated societies, and that's the way to actually debate and talk about anything. So I just wanted to clear some of the things so that before I answer anything, some foundations, some basic methods of debate or answering a question or any argument or controversy, how to deal with them from my perspective, how I see things and how I would answer it. Another very important thing I would like to mention over here is that videos like that, viral videos where it's just for the sake of argument, one-sided opinion, and against any culture or religion or anything like that, gets viral. Now my question is to people who share it or make it viral, that have you ever considered doing your own research? Now when you hear an opinion, do you ever go try to find out the truth? Have you got that non-biased mentality? Have you got the neutral perspective and the time to go and research one opinion you have heard from somewhere? Because anybody tomorrow can get up from anywhere who might be good at just speaking, accuse the other ethnicity and just get away with it. Now, a lot of the times the debate goes useless because people who listen to things like that do not ever go and research with a neutral mindset. Because what happens is that people are happy in their small bubbles, in their small communities, where they like divide and rule, where they like to just blame at others and them blaming them. It's like they get a kick out of it, like when there is just like a rivalry. Whereas I think if any debate should happen, it should happen in for an educational purpose, where people are debating and knowing things for their education, and then just counter checking them, doing their own research as well. So this is something I thought was worth mentioning. And lastly, something really intriguing which I hear quite often, and probably it's mentioned in this video as well, is that is Islam compatible with Western culture and stuff like that. Now, this is something, even before I go into the video, I would just like to mention that any culture for one time point of time, it may be different from, let's say, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. For example, whatever Western culture is today is different from the Western culture which was 50 years ago, and that culture was different from what Western culture was 100 years ago. Why? And similarly, examples like that. Like, the more you go back, you would find culture mostly is changes with time. People, fashion changes, cultural changes same accordingly. Either it's Western culture or it's Eastern culture. And another very important thing is that religion, any particular religion, and what people do who are related to that religion can be two different things. For example, what Christianity says and what Christians do might be two separate things, and not in every example or in every scenario they would be exactly the same. Like, people might be Muslims, but they might not be doing things which Islam is saying. Countries might be Muslim, but they might not be following Islam properly. Now, that boils down to one point. People, why are they doing it? Why? Now, then we have to take the debate from religious factors to political factors, then social factors. So I think a lot of the questions which come on Islam or Muslims are two separate things, because Islam is one thing as a religion, and what some of the Muslims are doing, which probably are doing it wrong according to what they probably wrongly understood Islam, like terrorists and people like that. It's then their that's two separate things. We cannot blame the religion for what the followers of that some followers of that religion are doing, which are probably interpreting it wrong. Just to mention this particular example in a more easy way, I would just say that a lot of the times some of my friends, they message me like a verse number from the Holy Quran. Or why this verse is saying that, is that verse is against non-believers, is that verse is about violence. Now, it's something I think happens with, it's a lot of because of lack of knowledge, because a lot of the times things are quoted from the Quran out of the context. Now, when people would mention you anything like that, I would suggest or prefer that please ask them the chapter number and the verse number. Chapter number and the verse number, if both are there, then you can go, if you really want to know if was it out of context or was it a different kind of context, then it's easier to give them the chapter number. They can go to the Holy Quran, it's available online. You can read the whole chapter and then try to interpret or understand that particular verse which was quoted to you in the context. Like, read the full chapter, then you would be able to understand it. And it happened to me a few times when people came to me saying, oh, what does this verse means? Is it talking about violence, or is it talking about non-believers, stuff like that? And I didn't say anything to them. I just gave them the full chapter number and I told them where to look for it. They went there, they looked for the whole chapter, they read the verse in the context, and they were fully satisfied with it. And they came back to me saying, oh, sorry, we thought the way we read it before, that meant differently, but when we read it in the context of the full chapter, that completely meant something else. For example, like Bible and like the Holy Quran, these holy books, when we talk about particularly about the Holy Quran, those holy books did not suddenly came on the Holy Prophet through the angel Gabriel, peace be upon him. The way Quran came was as the live events were happening in the life of Holy Prophet, Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So as the live events were going on, like at that particular time, some non-believers were threatening to kill him so that he do not invite people for Islam. And like same the way Jesus, peace be upon him, was treated when he was telling people about God and about Christianity. Same way people started violence against them, or started doing things to kill him or wage a war against him. Similarly, when that was happening, then Allah sent guidance for the Holy Prophet for whatever was happening at that time. So when you read things in that context of what was happening, what at that time, what non-believers, what conspiracies they were doing, just to stop the freedom of speech from the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and how Prophet, peace be upon him, then defended that, and or if they waged war against the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. It's similar in the context of Jesus, peace be upon him, or Moses, peace be upon him. Whenever a prophet have come, if you read about the history or religion, people always come against them, try to attack them or try to kill them. Then Allah guide them and God guide them and save them by giving these instructions in the Holy Book. So if you read those verses which quoted to you, somebody quotes you any verse from the Holy Quran saying that, oh, it's talking about violence, oh, it's talking about non-believers, stuff like that, it's very, very important for you guys to go and check the whole chapter and read it in the context of it, because it might be actually referring to a event which is happening, and in that event or life event of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, he might be going through a circumstances and doing something, and that verse and that chapter is related to that. So when you read things in the context, it would be very easy for you to understand. That's another very important thing. I thought I would mention it to people. Either it's the Holy Quran, or it's the Bible, or it's a book of Jews. I think it's very important, people who ask questions and they sometimes quote things out of the context, it's very important for them to read things in the context first and then question. Okay guys, so I think we are ready to actually start the video, and let's see what this gentleman is asking. He's asking 20 questions for Muslims. So as a Muslim, I would like to answer those questions and to the best of my knowledge, and then people can decide it for themselves. I think it's good to just present my opinion out there. As I just said earlier, that everybody has the right to have whatever opinion they like, but it's good to have it's good to balance the opinion. If one side of opinion is there or questions are there, the other side's answer or questions or opinion should be there as well, so that both are equal and people can listen to both of them and then can decide for themselves. So let's go into it. So here we go.
Given that the left has embraced Islamism to such a degree that they're now basically one and the same thing, I've got a few questions.
Just one thing over here. The first sentence he said, according to some people, I don't know what group of people he's mentioning, but he claimed that some people think that Islam and Western is so merged together that it's one of the same thing. As I just mentioned earlier in my video, that Western culture, or when we just talk about West, it's such a sweeping statement that I think just to start an argument, it's good. It's a good sentence to say, but that's not entirely truthful, or it's not entirely, how would I say, a fact. Because when we talk about Islam and West is usually one like have something in common, then a person like me would the first thing comes into my mind is the things like justice system, welfare system, a society where people are looked after. Like in Britain, they have a social welfare system, justice system, policing system, where people are equally treated. Racism, discrimination is low. So I think when people talk about, not every Western country, to be honest, have those things. They might be having it in their constitution, but how much is the implementation are two different things. So it's whenever a question is asked, as I said earlier, it's not it does not remain in the context of religion, and it comes in social political norms as well, and how a particular country is dealing with it. So just to reply to the first sentence, I don't think it's fully truthful, or I don't know which group of Muslims are claiming that, because of course there are difference of opinions there. If there are people who do not even believe in religion, there are people who are our Christian brothers, our Jews brothers, or our people who do not even believe in God, but they are all, we are connected as one in the form of in the relation of humanity. So one of the same thing, it doesn't sound too much logical to me. I don't think this guy do a lot of research when he asks questions, because he seems like he likes to just make sweeping statements without like completely researching about a topic. And perhaps because these kind of videos get viral, and people who make it viral also do not research on their own for education purposes, so a lot of questions remain unanswered and just go on to the social media, and we do not get something out of it, like some educational purposes, information out of it. So argument remains just for the sake of argument, not for the sake of knowledge. Let's go further.
Banning people from countries because of their religion is bad. Then why do 16 Muslim countries ban Israelis because of their religion?
Now this question. So this question seems very intriguing when you first hear it. Oh, wow, it does 16 countries, Muslim countries have banned Israeli people. Oh, why is that? Now, people never stop to think once, if that is the case, why is it like that? Have you even heard about something called Palestine? So wherever Israel today, that I don't know if how many people have researched about Israel and Palestine conflict, what's going on over there, the wars and the whole issue. It's a whole long debate. I can just research about it and talk for an hour, but then the the video might finish only just on one question. But I will just suggest people to just not focus on like a intriguing question who seems very interesting, but try to do a research about it as well. If Muslim countries have doing that, why are they doing it? Actually, it's because they are doing it in a protest, because a lot of Palestinians and their rights are being avoided. Their country, from one point of view, from the Palestinian point of view, which is Muslim countries are actually trying to take, and they are showing their protest, is because they think Israel is taking over their country and their human rights, and there's a whole like a war, it's a war-torn area, and conflicts like that are going on over there. That's a huge long debate. It's a whole history behind it. So just to answer that particular thing in one statement, I think perhaps this guy likes to ask questions, but he do not have knowledge or proper research about it, because that question to me was asked because of lack of knowledge. If he would have done research about Israel and Palestinian conflict and what Muslim countries are doing in protest of that, just to highlight the protest. Like, for example, if Russia does something today, Western countries block something or block their trade or something like that, just to protest with Russia, whatever they have done, probably in Syria or somewhere else. It's a way of protest different countries do. Trump have just, without any good reason, he has blocked a lot of, I think, visitors from Iran and other countries to even visit America. So countries and their governments have sometimes use these kind of reasons to just show their protest or their policies. So, I mean, you can agree or disagree with it, but just in the context of the question, that is the answer.
If Islam is culturally compatible with the West, why do 11 Muslim countries still execute gay people?
Now, a lot of, as I just mentioned earlier in my video, that what Islam says and what a lot of Muslim countries do, and how many Muslim countries do it, it might be two different things. Now, if all the Muslim countries are doing it, if half of them are doing it, if one of them is doing it, I'm not here to reply for them, whatever they are doing, their government or their people, whatever they decide. But as I mentioned, it's like a book of terms and conditions. You can disagree with it if you do not believe in God, if you do not believe in Islam. It's fine. It's your own opinion. But when we read Islam or Christianity as a religion of God, then God gives some instructions. For example, if you read 10 commandments, which was given to Moses, peace be upon him, there were some terms and conditions which were given to Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, to follow to make a better society. So now Islam says, and according to the holy books, gayism is prohibited. Now there are medical reasons with it. There are medical reasons for in a gay marriage, what are the complications. Anybody have the right to agree or disagree with it, and then they can choose whatever they like to choose. But when you're talking about Muslim countries, they are following those terms and conditions. Now you can disagree with it, but they are following the terms and conditions they think according to them are logical. Now if medical condition says these are the complications, now either you agree or disagree, the complications will remain over there, or the health conditions will remain over there. So some people can choose not to take a risk for those medical conditions and choose to prohibit it or cancel it, or think that it should not be allowed. But other group of people, like in Western societies, they think anybody can do it if they want to do it, and if they want to have those medical conditions or take the choice according to their own wish, that's entirely up to them. So it's what you are following, what terms and conditions you are following.
If Islam is culturally compatible with the West, why do the majority of Muslims living in the UK think that homosexuality should be criminalized?
Because it's just their opinion. As I said, it's useless to debate about the secondary things about homosexuality, gay, etc., etc. First thing is, because their first factor, their first condition is fulfilled. Muslims are the group of people who first researched about is there a God or not. So I would suggest people to go and do their own research, that is there a God, what does their logic says, have they researched about it, have they ever asked, observed the world, is it everything happening systematically. There are lots and lots of opinions on the internet, which of Muslim scholars and non-Muslim people. So first, before even talking about the terms and conditions or the secondary things of any religion, a person should go there first in order to say that do they even agree with the first condition or not. So first condition is there a God or not. So if you do your research, and if you believe that there is a God, then you would also believe at the same time that first do your research is if there is a God or not. If you come to the conclusion that there is one God, then it will make sense that if God, you believe that there is a God, then he wouldn't be telling anything which would be wrong. Whatever guidance he is giving you, that's upon you how much on that guidance you try to act every day, how much you try. Putting an effort is a different thing. But those terms and conditions, then you have to agree. Like when you sign for a company, first you agree that you want to work over there, and then they give you the HR manual, the terms and condition, and then you sign, say, yes, I'm in the company and I'm going to work here. As simple as that.
is culturally compatible with the West, why do supposedly modern Muslim countries like the United Arab Emirates detain, harass and threaten transgender people when they try to enter the country?
Now, this is something I'm not aware of. I think it might be a one case, or I have to look into this news in detail. But there's a lot of transgender people live in Pakistan. Pakistan is a Muslim country. I think a lot of transgender people live in Afghanistan, Turkey, and all of those countries. I don't know why. I think it's nothing to do with Islam. That's more of a political thing, and political leadership of that country. Is it just one case, or is it they are doing it to everybody? I think the more details of that news should be there. But as far as I know and have the information about this issue, I think a lot of transgender people live in Muslim countries. There's no doubt about it.
Country. If Islam is culturally compatible with the West, why do you have something literally called the rape game, Taharush Gamia?
Now, this is something again nothing to do with Islam. If you read about Islam, if you research about Islam with a neutral point of view, there is nothing like that in Islam. I'm a Muslim. I've never even heard about this thing. I'm hearing it for the first time. Yes, Islam was accepted by different groups of people, different countries, people of different cultural and origins, but the thing is that their cultural things might be different from what Islam is saying. For example, in India or Pakistan, there's a lot of things people do on marriages which have nothing to do with how Islam tells them to do. But because they are cultural, they still do it. But that's nothing to do with Islam. Islam say different things, like it will tell you the basic guideline, but then there would be cultural norms. Culture is like a fashion. It keeps changing. Whatever happens today, probably tomorrow something else, after 100 years something else. So cultural things keep on happening. Whatever is going on over here, I don't think it has anything to do with Islam. I mean, if it's happening in Afghanistan, probably, if I haven't heard it in Pakistan or in Saudi Arabia or in Britain, I don't think Muslims of those countries would even know about it.
And something called Bacha Bazi, where old men have sex with young boys. Why do you fail to speak out?
If whatever he just said, I completely don't have a clue. I have never heard anything like that. And whatever is going on over there, me being a Muslim, will condemn it, because this is against Islam. If Islam doesn't support gayism or whatever things are being mentioned before, then whatever he's saying now about children and men, of course that's against Islam. It's something to be condemned, and I think a lot of Muslims like me would condemn it, as simple as that.
Against Islamic terrorism, yet organise mass protests when someone draws a cartoon of Muhammad. What?
Now, this question is like he tried to portray two questions. If Muslims of Britain and I think America, in Europe, I think in day-to-day life, a lot of British people, if anybody's watching my video, a lot of people, when you interact with Muslims, I don't think you would see anybody who is in support of terrorism. I mean, I condemn terrorism. Any human, Islam even says that killing one human is like killing all the humanity. I don't think anybody defend terrorism. Terrorists, like there can be a Christian, there can be a person with the name of Christian, or a person with the name of Hindu religion, or a name of Jew religion, can do terrorism, but that doesn't mean that the whole community would be blamed for it. A lot of people might misinterpret, or might like I just said in the start of the video, sometimes out of the context people try to take from Quran. So similarly, if some terrorists or people try to brainwash people by mentioning out of the context verses of the Quran, or verses or anything like that, this is just the lack of knowledge of that particular person. If he do not have the time and guts to go and research it properly by himself, then anybody can brainwash anybody. Like this very minute, this guy is just trying to brainwash people without the full knowledge. He's just posing questions out of the context, If he would have done research by himself, I don't think he would be even asking questions to Muslims. He would have already got the answers to those questions by now. I think all the Muslims condemn terrorism, but particularly mentioning about the cartoon of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I think it's disrespectful. This is my opinion. Similarly, if I abuse somebody or make racist slurs on somebody, it would be disrespectful to him. So in order to exist in a society, you give respect, have respect. So if Muslims respect their prophet in a way that they do not like cartoons or disrespectful images, that's their opinion. Why can't other people respect that? I mean, I don't think Muslims are in favor of making Jesus, peace be upon him's image, because I think the way we respect as a Muslim Jesus, peace be upon him, or Moses, peace be upon him, I think even Christians of modern day do not do that, because all prophets and all these people, even religious scholars, no matter which religion they are from, they are respectable. You can disagree with them with respect, but just making fun about them, making cartoons about them, or giving them funny names, I think it would be disrespectful. We should see them in a normal day-to-day life. Like, forget about what question he just asked. Just imagine, just take this question in a normal day-to-day life. Would you do that to anybody? You would do it only if you want to disrespect or offend somebody. Otherwise you wouldn't make funny cartoons of people you respect or people like your neighbor, for example. That's just like a logical, common logic thing. Like, it's just their opinion, and just don't do it. Respect their opinion. They are respecting yours. As simple as that.
Why do you complain about all Muslims being blamed for radical Islam? Then shout down and intimidate ex-Muslims who speak out against radical Islam. What?
I don't think any Muslim support stuff like terrorism or any. As I just said, if somebody individually said something, it's their own opinion. It's like, I can't actually defend or speak on other people's behalf, because everybody have their own opinion. If somebody said something to someone, if A person said something to B, how can I say anything in that? I'm just talking about general logical perception, general logical answer to a logical question. Like, if any Christian or any person for that sake, A person said anything to a B person, what I got to do with it? I mean, it's between them. It's A's own opinion with B's own opinion, and A and B are having their own opinion. I mean, I can't neither defend A nor B. That's their own conversation going on.
Why do you insist that all Muslims shouldn't be collectively blamed for terrorism, but then collectively blame all Westerners for the actions of our governments?
I don't think we collectively blame all Western people for their governments. I think people in every country like US, Britain, Europe, there are all kinds of people everywhere, right wing, left wing, center, in politics, and even in the society as well. Everybody have their own opinion. I think the love I have got since I've come to Britain is tremendous. I've seen a lot of my friends are white people, and we just interact brilliantly together. I think they are so good to me. I don't see any point over there. I never see any. I mean, as far as my knowledge is concerned, I've never blamed like them collectively, or they blamed me collectively for whatever is going on in Syria and all of that terrorism. Every individual is different, and I think there's a lot of social experiment videos on YouTube, how societies evolve and what is a greater society where people defend each other, they stand up for each other. Like, everybody, as long as they are peaceful, whatever religion, whatever values they have, if they respectfully do that, do not trouble anybody else, or just be a good human being, that is it. The point is, the crux is that be a good human being. If you believe in God, you do that. That's your own opinion. If somebody doesn't, that's their own opinion. As simple as that.
In Muslim countries, why do you insist that Islam is a religion of peace and then threaten to kill me when I say it isn't? If Islam...
Um, again, this is something which is nothing to do with me, and I don't think I can defend it, because if somebody had said anything to him, then that individual's own opinion about Mr. Paul Joseph Watson, that's between them. So if he said it, I can't defend it. He's responsible for his own comment and action, but I can at least condemn it, because this shouldn't be like that. If Mr. Paul has an opinion, then that's his own opinion, and he's just actually voicing his opinion. Muslims like me should come forward and just give their opinion. That's it. So I don't think, just for the sake of argument, if Muslims start just blaming or just argue for the sake of argument, I think this should be discouraged. So I would discourage anybody who tried to threaten. I would discourage anybody who tried to threaten Mr. Paul Joseph Watson.
peace, why does the Quran contain 109 passages that call for Muslims to wage war?
The reason I just stopped it before he completed the sentence, the next question, according to him, is that I mentioned earlier in my video that a lot of the times when people quote you anything from Quran or Bible or from Torah, then please just don't take it like look at this particular page. It's mentioning Quran 2.191, Quran 3:28. So that's chapter number, verse number, but it's just quoted one verse from each of that chapter. So the chapter number is 191. Then in the second line, the chapter number is 28 and 85, 33. So it's like quoting one line, one sentence from every paragraph or every chapter. It wouldn't make sense. That one sentence or that one verse would be only understandable if you read the whole chapter. Please, I would just request anybody who's seeing my video, please never buy that kind of excuse. This is like below logical mentality. If anybody quotes you, like let's say I'm talking about criminals and I'm doing a long debate. In that debate, if I said those criminals should be punished or those people should be punished. Now, if somebody quotes just that sentence out of my whole speech, they can say anything against me by just quoting that one sentence. Similarly, in that context, try to understand this page, whatever he tried to show. Now, this is very easy to instigate just a fight and argument and bashing between Muslims and non-Muslims, but I think it doesn't even have a base, because all these things are mentioned out of the context. One verse was taken from one chapter, then another verse is taken from another chapter. If you want to understand what these verses mean, please go back. There's Quran.com, there's a website. Whatever chapter he's mentioning, chapter number 28, chapter number 191, please read those chapters, and then within those chapters, when that verses will come, read them in the context. Then you will understand that it didn't even mean what you understood before. As simple as that. It's a very logical thing. I don't know why people don't do it, and I don't know why Mr. Paul Joseph Watson haven't done that, because if he's a great researcher, or if he's a very intellectual, logical person, I think he should have gone to the Holy Quran on the website, researched about these verses, read them in the context. Then I think he wouldn't be even asking those questions, or probably wasting his time asking those questions from Muslims. His own logical mind would have shown him the way where he could have got the answer long time ago.
Against non-believers. If Islam is a religion of peace, why do police keep finding huge caches of military-grade weapons in mosques across Europe?
Now, this is one thing which is completely political. It's nothing to do with Islam. As I just said, there are mosques in different countries, Syria, Pakistan, Europe, anywhere. So, it, I don't know. In investigation, we'll find that out. I mean, as a Muslim, I would like to know as well why there was weapon. If there was any weapon, why there was it? Have they done any investigation? What was the report of the investigation? What did the police say? What did the police came out with? What was the conclusion? Now, just saying like a sweeping statement doesn't clarify something. As being a Muslim, I condemn anything like that. I don't think weapons should be anywhere as long as they are with the guards who are protecting somewhere, especially in third world countries where the security is not good, like Britain or Europe. So usually they give like these kind of weapons to people who are guarding the mosque or any religious place. So I don't know for what purpose it was there, if it was there or not. What did the investigation say? What did the police say? What was the conclusion they came out with? Because I don't know why they would have done it, but as a Muslim, I would condemn anything like that.
If Islam is a religion of peace, why do significant numbers of Muslims living in the West support suicide bombings?
Now, this is another something which is I don't think majority of the Muslims think. Whatever people think like that, I don't think that's according to Islam. They might be twisted, or their mind would be twisted probably. I think it's good that Mr. Paul have mentioned it, and if Mr. Paul knows about what kind of and what number of people are thinking like that, then I think he should report it to the authorities so that it can help authorities to actually locate those people and identify them. So that me and a lot of Muslims like me would like to know as well if it's there and why it's there. Like, do an investigation and please give us the report. We would like to find out as well, because according to me as a Muslim, I think Islam is a religion of peace. So I condemn that whatever he's saying.
If Islam is a religion of peace, why is there no popular Muslim peace movement? If Islam is...
Oh, I think probably then he doesn't even know if there's a peace movement or not. Even any, I think he can go to whatever, I don't know where the gentleman lives, within London, Manchester, any city you can go within Britain or other, probably Europe or in America. I think you go in any local mosque, you would find peace movements over there. There would be small groups of people. Majority, I'm actually talking, I mean, to my knowledge, whichever mosque I've gone to, I've seen the same kind of perspective. People are talking about humanity, peace, and trying to live with peace. So that is their peace movement. Local mosque, I mean, if you people are listening to me, you can actually just contact your local mosque and ask them. I don't think they are even in favor of instigating violence or anything. They are peaceful people and promoting peace, and they respect other people around them, and they have a very peaceful way of interaction. I don't actually see any like logic in it. If Mr. Paul is looking for like a peace movement, I don't think there's a movement is needed over here, because in Britain or European countries it's already very peaceful. Everybody is free to do whatever they like to do. So what kind of movement? Like I mean, usually if anything like that happens, we see protest from within Muslims coming out on the streets and condemning terrorism and things like that. I think you can research on YouTube and Google where Muslims have come out on the streets to show solidarity with other communities in Britain if there's something happened with other communities which was unfair. So in societies like Britain, people love each other. They live together with peace. They respect each other. This is the impression I've got, and this is what I've experienced. If Mr. Paul have experienced it differently, I don't know. I would like to know the details. But just it's worth mentioning over here. There's a Peace TV. It's a television. I think it's telecast from India, I think. It's called Peace TV, and there's a religious scholar called Zakir Naik, and he is there to answer. He's a really proper religious scholar, so people go, they ask questions, so he replied to them religiously. But that's not my point of debate. His videos are on YouTube. If anybody is interested in any particular question about that, they can go and refer to his videos, and people who question them or anti videos of that scholar are also available on the internet. So it's up to you if you want to research it or anybody wants to find it out. It's a lot of material in favor and in against. Everything is there. People can read about it, research on their own. But just one advice I would give: please do it with a neutral mind.
The religion of peace. Why do I routinely receive messages from Muslims who agree with me, but who are afraid to speak out for fear of being killed?
Now, this is another question. If a lot of Muslims agree with Mr. Paul, that's entirely up to them. A lot of Muslims, I think it's worth mentioning over here. This is where I actually don't agree with a lot of Muslims' mentality, is because a lot of the Muslims, they just follow religion because they were born in a Muslim house, or it's like a stereotype. They heard something from their local mosque or a religious scholar, but they never go home or try to research on their own. Now, this is what is really, really sad, is that whatever you are being told by your parents or a religious scholar is not enough. I think either you are a Muslim or not, please go and do your research. Try to understand either it's Islam or Christianity, anything. Please try to question it logically. And when you do that, and then you will go into further research. And when you keep doing that, it would be a process of a few probably months or years, and then you will come to your own conclusion. Now, within Muslims, there are different sects, like in Protestant and Catholic in Christianity. In Islam, there are Sunni and Shia, but their basic concept of Islam is similar, the foundation, but they disagree on other things in Islam. So if some Muslims agree with Mr. Paul, it's good, it's their opinion. But my point of view is that you can agree with anybody, either he's a Muslim or a non-Muslim, on any particular thing. That's every person's own right if they want to do it. But I would always prefer and suggest, like I did, I tried to go and listen to different schools of thoughts and came to my own conclusion about Islam and about religion. Try to understand it logically, question it logically, and then come to my own conclusion. And I would suggest everybody to do the same, either they are a Muslim or not. I think it's a fair question when somebody think about God or aim of life and stuff like that. If you feel like you have the time, you have the interest, go for it.
Terrorism is all just a backlash against Western foreign policy. Why are most victims of terrorism other Muslims? Why do you...
Now, this is again nothing to do with Islam. Whatever is going on in the war-torn areas like Afghanistan, Syria, it's a much complicated thing. Please, for the sake of it, I would request people, please stop seeing it from a biased mentality and seeing it, oh, if Islam is like that. Over there on the ground, there are so many factors going on. Please research about this topic. I would request to everybody. It's a bigger game. It's a game between America and Russia. It's a game between selling weapons. It's a game between taking sides. For example, there was a time when America used to support Taliban, when America used to support groups who were against Russia. Then they were good. They were providing them weapons and everything. But when Russia was defeated, then America or Western societies decided they are not good enough. For example, there's been a long time period where Western countries supported Gaddafi, Saddam, and people like him. But when they served the purpose, they were eliminated. So you also have to expose then that political game behind it. It's nothing to do with Islam. It's the power game. It's the political game. It's the big power sitting behind it. It's a race of selling weapons. It's money is involved. So it's I think this debate is not it's not fair to merge this debate with religion, because there are other factors in it as well, which I think everybody should research on their own.
Constantly invoke the Crusades, a 600-year-old defensive war, to make apologies for modern-day Islamic terrorism.
Well, if some people have said to Mr. Paul like that, that's their own opinion. But even to the Crusades, I think in order to read in the context of it, I know generally about Crusades and what they did, but I do not have a very thorough knowledge about it. Like, I haven't studied properly their movement and the movement of Crusades. But it's like logical. If any power struggle is going on, like within Britain, there was a long dispute between Ireland and Britain, and then there were bombings on each side. So each side used to think, Irish people used to think they are on the right, English people think they are on the right, and there was a lot of secret what you call guerrilla wars going on for land, for power, for freedom. So I think in that context, we have to actually every person should research and try to understand perspective from each side, and then come to their own conclusion. Now, just having said that, I've met a lot of Irish people who believe that even though Irish movement was going on, there was a lot of things they did, like bombings, I think London bombings and stuff like that, and then vice versa. It went on for a long time, and other countries where Britain went and occupied, and then freedom struggle went on. So it's nothing to do with any religion. It's something to do with freedom, what each of the group of people think, why are they pursuing it, what is their agenda. So that's more that kind of detailed conversation and research. But just a sweeping statement of Mr. Paul doesn't justify the question.
That's not an argument.
Not an argument. It's not an argument. It's not an argument.
Why do you...
As you can just see, Mr. Paul, I just respectfully say that it's very good actually, just to instigate hatred and viral videos like that. I can make tens of it. But what's the point? My vision as a person is not a narrow vision. I think if there should be a debate or question and answers, they should be done with the purpose of gaining knowledge or gaining the answers you are looking for. Not just to taunt or tease or just to take a mockery out of the people you are questioning, but just to respectfully get your answers. Now, if Mr. Paul was serious enough to ask questions, why did he made that video and then that finger sign and then disrespectful music in the background? Of course, because his way of presenting it is just to give like a touch of taunt with it. But I would say that's entirely his opinion, but it would have been better if he would have made this attempt more reasonably and with a more respectful way. If he is just doing it to gain knowledge and answer just for the sake of knowledge, if he is just doing it for the sake of argument, then he can make as many videos as possible and just to have fun and go viral and have more subscribers, but there would be nothing out of it. Like, there would be no good or no knowledge or would come out of it. And this is where I don't like stuff like that, which just goes on just to gain more subscribers or views, but not to resolve the issue or come towards the solution or a peaceful debate for knowledge. Just to instigate hate, I completely disagree with it.
Complain about France banning the burkini, when if Western women visited beaches in Islamic countries wearing what they wanted to wear, they'd be attacked and imprisoned. Why?
Now this is another question. Now he should have mentioned which country, where it is, because in my country, Pakistan, I haven't heard anything like that. Yes, there are different things in those countries, including India, Pakistan, but those are nothing to do with Islam. That's like a political thing where politicians are corrupt. Unfortunately, Western leaders have supported corrupt politicians like puppets in those countries, and those corrupt politicians have never reformed or made policies which are in line with Islam. And even if they have, they don't implement it. They don't implement it because they are corrupt to the core. And if some countries have done whatever he's mentioning, it would have been worth it if he would have mentioned which country, where it has happened, how many times it has happened, because I completely cannot answer for that, because I think respectfully people are going to Dubai, they are on the beaches, everything is going on, nothing is happening over there. I mean, people are enjoying. This is why the tourism of Dubai or Turkey is increasing, is because a lot of Western people are going over there and just enjoying the way they want to enjoy. So this is again something just quoted out of the context, or one incident or a couple of incidents, and just instigating it or putting it in such a way that it becomes a purpose for hate, which I disagree with Mr. Paul.
Why do you try to shout down criticism of Islam by calling it racist when Islam isn't a race? Why after...
This question doesn't make sense, because I don't see anybody doing that. If somebody has done it, he is wrong, and I'm ready here to condemn it. But it should be, as I just said, if Mr. Paul and other people who are questioning on Muslims or Islam, if they are doing, what is their purpose? Are they doing it for education purpose and research and get an answer, or they are just doing it to get more subscribers and hate speech and one viral video against another viral video? Because to be honest, I can do the same, but I choose not to, because then the issue would never be resolved, and people who are genuine people listening to these videos would never get the answers they are looking for. Because if you just continue it for the sake of argument, then probably the people who belong to my school of thought would probably make my video viral if I make a video like Mr. Paul. So we have to actually discourage these things, and we have to promote more things which actually resolve an issue and peacefully, and which can lead to peaceful debate, and then people can decide for themselves whatever perspective they like to take, because everybody is free to have an opinion which they think is right.
Every Islamic terror attack is your primary concern a backlash against Muslims? Like, if a far-right troll kills Muslims, should our primary concern be a backlash against far-right trolls if the West is so self...
Now again, this question was a very silly question. As a Muslim, I think, and the Muslims I know and meet and aware of, like my community and friends, I think we all collectively condemn any terrorism and anything like that. Either it was done by probably a twisted mind radical Muslim, or any other person from any other religion. Because me and my friends who are Muslims, we see it not as a religious thing. We just think that it's like a criminal. Criminal is a criminal no matter his name is a Muslim name or a Christian name or a Jew name or any name for that sake. A criminal is a criminal. A terrorist is a terrorist, no matter which ethnicity, name or culture they belong. But over here we have to individually talk about what happened, what he's referring to. He should quote that, then we can look into it. Have the police investigated the incident? When they investigated, what did they find out? So all these kind of things should be mentioned as well.
Selfish for not taking in enough Syrian refugees. Why have the 5 wealthiest Muslim countries taken in virtually no Syrian refugees?
Yes, this is something I agree with Mr. Paul. I myself condemn rich Muslim countries for not doing so, because whenever I debate about refugees and people who are innocent people, but they had to go through a lot because of these war-torn, because they were in the war-torn areas, and because there were bombings going on, Russia, America, other countries. But I think they, collectively, I condemn Muslim countries who are rich enough to take them but are not taking them. So as a Muslim, I'm condemning them because Islam says they should show brotherhood. But if they are not showing it, I am equally condemning them as Mr. Paul is condemning them. But just on a separate note, I would say that why it all started in the first place. If there's Gaddafi and Saddam, why do Muslim countries have to go and be nosy and try to attack them? Just let people of those countries deal with their leaders by themselves and make carry out a soft revolution or another revolution. It's their headache. First, Western countries, they collectively go and attack. Then there are consequences of it. People are displaced, people are refugees, and they also say that they like to take refugees, but at the same time their population hate refugees and immigrants. There's a kind of hypocrisy. So simple solution is don't go, don't interfere, let them deal with their issues. Every country have their own issues, political, social. So let their people deal with their own leaders. If they do that, I think everybody would be peaceful. As long as that particular person is not doing anything against another country or trying to threat another country, just let them deal with these issues. Let them, is there a dictator or whatever, let the people of that country deal with their leaders, and automatically, according to their own revolution, either it's soft or other revolution, they will come to the consequences and they will achieve whatever they want to achieve. But when Western countries do that, automatically it becomes a issue because they interfered. They went, they started something. Now there will be consequences, and then once it's consequences, then everybody start pointing fingers. You do it, or you should take refugees. There shouldn't be any refugees in the first place, because they are humans too. Like, all try to see everybody from the eyes of humanity. That's what I think and I believe.
If the West is so evil, oppressive, and Islamophobic, why do 50 million of you live here?
Now, this is a very important question. In that question, it's a simple answer. Please do not take this question as a sweeping statement, because it's easy to just instigate hatred against immigrants or Muslims who have come to live in Western countries. A lot of Muslims and a lot of people are living happily together over here. But how it all started? It started when Western countries opened their door to the world and said, whoever wants to come, this is our procedure, this is our way, you can apply a visa, you can give us this documentation. So those people gave the documentation, they applied, they gave the money, and then they came over here. You allowed them over here. They did not come by force. This is the first thing. Second thing, as I just said, even though a lot of countries are Muslims, but over there are political struggles are going on. Their leaders might be corrupt. They might be having social injustice. Just for example, in Pakistan or other countries like that, there would be people who are having issues because their politicians or their leaders are corrupt. There is no justice system, even though they are so-called Muslim countries. But this is how me as a Muslim, we condemn same way to them. We condemn those corrupt politicians. We condemn the system which they do not reform because they just want to be corrupt and they do not want reforms. So they are Muslim by name, but they are not doing what Islam is telling them to do, because what Islam tells them to do is get a social welfare system, get a good justice system where people are happy, people are living in peace. So there might be various reasons why a lot of Muslims or non-Muslims decided to come in Britain or other countries for that sake, is because they might have seen a good social system, where they thought they can invest, they can work, they can live peacefully, they can their families would be safe, or their businesses would be safe. There can be various reasons, but remember one thing: why it happened? Because you opened the door to them. You opened the door, they invested, they applied, they paid the money, they went on a plane, they came over here, you opened the door, they came in and they started living. So as simple as that. So Mr. Paul was very good in his questions. The questions were very intriguing, but unfortunately I have to say that his research was just next to nothing, I would say, because I think if he would have researched by himself with the unbiased mind, with a neutral mindset, on Google and YouTube there's a lot of stuff, he could have got these answers by himself and probably would have been satisfied by now. But thank you, Mr. Paul, you gave me the opportunity to speak on your questions, and it was incredible for me to actually give my opinion. Anybody who's listening to my opinion have the right to disagree, but I would still like to thank everybody for listening to my video. And anything like that, if my friend gives me, or any other video I come across, I would definitely like to give my opinion on it, or make a video just to have like a balance of opinion out there, and then people who are listening to these videos can then decide for themselves. So guys, I hope you like my videos. It will be on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. If you like it, please subscribe, like, comment, give me your feedback, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.